The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Would open us up with a statement about your first home game in a month, Hall of Fame weekend, and the Lenoir-Rhyne Bears coming to town.
First game in a month. It's still, as much as being on the road, it still doesn't seem, that far away, but then at the same time it seems so far away just because of, what we talked about over and over and over again. Like, for us, the process, continue to work, continue to get better, continue to find a way to find the success that we're looking for. And, we've been on the road, and so that's been good for us to just kind of be away and do something different. But, as you do that over and over and over again, it is good to just get back at home and be at home where you got people here that can put their arm around you and love on you and have your home crowd and just, continue to find a way to fight for one another here at Berktar Stadium.
Couple football connected players head into the Hall of Fame. Jabez Floyd, Mike Schlechter. Obviously, if you're going in, you're an all-time great. But what do those two mean to you in this program?
Mike has been a guy that's, I know as a player, I walk in and you see his name on the weight room now, over in the MSAC, and then you see it in the KSAC, and I've able to talk to, Charlie King's going in, and his son Chuck recruited me. And so just like most of the information I've had about Mike is just, me and Chuck talking, and he and Chuck, I think, played together, or at least Chuck was growing up while Mike was playing. And so never heard, a bad thing about Mike, just totally good things, just totally appreciative for, things that he's done for the program. And the same for Coach Floyd. I see you call him Jabez, I call him Coach. When I first got here, he's the defensive line coach. And, we got on campus, I was like, this may be the biggest human being I have ever seen in person. I mean, he's just – but the nicest guy. My first scholarship I signed had his name on it. He was a recruiting coordinator. And it's just little stuff like that you remember. Last summer, just having a cookout to where he came up and, fed the coaches during the middle of a pandemic when we all just needed a chance to get outside and hang around people. So it just speaks to the volume of, like, just the program in general. They're really good football players, but, more important than that, they're good people that have found ways to just kind of continue to reach back out to Carson-Newman. And, that's why we love our family here so much.
You look at Lenoir-Rhyne and a team that has spent time in the top 5 of the AFCA polls this year and has done it, probably unsurprisingly for Mike Jacobs, based on what he did up at Notre Dame, with a one-tailback, going to let the guy turn loose and run wild, and that's what Dwayne McGee has done this year. What sticks out to you about what they're capable of, especially offensively with McGee?
McGee is a good back. He's really fast is one thing that you see on film. It's just like, hey, is this thing kind of sped up? He does a good job, especially, when hitting outside runs. He has great vision, seeing things inside. Mike Lenoir-Rhyne's, established themselves a good program in this league, and you see that by the national ranking on the front end. And then they hire Mike, and Mike had been at Notre Dame, did a good job at Notre Dame, and so you would kind of expect them to kind of continue to move, in the direction that they're moving. It's been a crazy season. They have dropped 2 games, since the beginning of the season, but it's kind of like one of those things. Like right now in this league, anything can happen.
Defensively. Stunts on stunts on stunts on stunts between Dan Luba and Amari Houston. They're really 2 veterans for them are up front. Again, watching them play Tussle, they stunted the Pioneers to death. What else sticks out to you about their defense?
The tenacity. They run to the football. And that's a staple that they've created. And their kids this year kind of, holding on to that standard. So they do a good job as far as running to the football. They do a great job with pressure and, making the quarterback have to make quick decisions. But, they've just done a good job continuing to do the things that, LR has done for the last few years.
The maturation of LaMarcus Brown, you talked on in the post game on Saturday that what he would learn would happen in the film room on Monday. With that process, how's he done internalizing and moving forward from what happened Saturday after film study?
I actually snuck into their room yesterday. I don't know if they knew I was in there. But, I think that is good. And, we'll know more when we get out here and see how he executes in practice today. But, one thing that, really kind of picked up in film yesterday was, we had one throw that he made that Coach Persley was like, hey, we would like to look here, tell me why you made a different decision. But just to be able to hear him give an educated answer. The safety, I'm looking, the safety took off, he ran over the top, and I knew I was one-on-one in the backside, and, that's why I decided to make that throw. And so, for a freshman, like, it's pretty high-level thinking. And it's still – and that's probably – he did a really good job. Like, that was probably the safest throw that he can make. And, like, at this point in his career, that's probably the throw that you want him to make. As he transitions and gets older and starts to see things, from a more mature lens or more veteran lens, I guess is the better word, then you'll be able to have him see, why he can still fit that ball in the window on the other side.
How about the job of your offensive line to embrace the zone blocking schemes that it has embraced midstream, and Troy Dendy averaging 6 yards a carry these last 2 weeks as a result?
Those guys have done a really good job of meshing together. In the offensive line, they've kind of, taken it personal that, they weren't going to be, the thing that holds us back. And so they've taken that challenge and they've continued to work and move forward with it. And then, Dendy, a lot of just extra effort on runs and being able to see things and just at least, no, I still got to stick my nose in there and get 3 yards. And so that's the reason to keep his feet churning. That's the reason he's being able to, kind of keep his average where it is.
Obviously, turnovers. We know you work on them, or work on not giving them away. Is it something that you talk about, or is it something that you keep in your back pocket at this point so that your team doesn't let it weigh on it too much?
It's one of those things that's obvious. I mean, we talked about this the last 2 weeks with 4 turnovers, and it is something that we work on. And the big thing now is, at some point they have to own it. It's just like, I get the ball and I'm kind of lackadaisical with the football. And so a lot of times, like, we're a little bit overconfident with the ball. Nobody's going to get this ball from me. Well, if we don't handle the ball the right way, then someone's going to take it. It's like when on Dendy's turnover, that's where the thing we heard was like, man, he hit it. The defender hit it in exactly the right place. Well, that's why we hold it exactly the right way, so that when that worst-case scenario shows up, then we still have a chance at success. And so we're going to continue to practice that, and we're going to continue to focus on it. I don't think it's something that we just kind of talk about over and over and over and over again, but I think every time they touch the football, we have to be aware of, is that ball in the right place? And we have to be aware of, coming back and seeing it on video. And we have to be aware of, even in 11-on-11 situations, even though it didn't, come out, was it in jeopardy? As a running back, because that's one thing I always love, watching your pictures on the website. And I would go pull them up in meetings on Monday, like, yeah, it wasn't a turnover, but the ball was in jeopardy. And so we have to be conscious of how many times do we put the ball in jeopardy as opposed to how many times we turn it over.
Defense was on the field for 85 plays, 40-plus minutes. How much of a concern is that entering this week?
We've got to find a way to win third down. You go back and you look at our third down conversion percentages, and our guys noticed that. Like, they said something about that in the meeting yesterday. And so it's good when they get it, and then we don't have to keep saying it over and over and over. We talk about Rondro being an older guy. He's like, as defensively, challenge our guys, like, get off the field. If it's third down, like, let's go make a play. Let's don't create a turnover. Like let's don't, go get a penalty or just let a guy go free, and give him a chance to convert. Let's be aware of the situation, and let's, live and respond in that moment.
With that in mind, defensive line, I thought had a nice overall game. You had to shift a lot of different bodies in there. How do you assess how that group handled being on the field that frequently, and pretty much everybody that was in a defensive line uniform played in that game?
The staple of the entire thing for that game at Catawba, we watched the play that kind of said it all in the question that you're asking me right now. We watched the last play that we played on defense, and it was one of the most impressive plays that you can see. The game was on the line. We had to get a stop. We have guys where we got 2 guys running because we were lined up on the wrong side of the field, and we made 3 or 4 critical mistakes on that one play, but effort. we had 11 guys run to the football, and we got the guy tackled before he can get a first down. And it was literally 11 guys. And so, that's where they challenge each other. Like, if we can do that on the last play of a game where we play 80-something plays, why can't we just do that for 80 plays? And so I think if we do that, we'll respond the right way.
I think you were expecting Devon Moore to be your main kickoff return specialist this year, and you turned to a different track guy, and Daquan Dudley. And he's had some big returns these last few weeks, not just the touchdowns against Catawba, but even Barton. He broke a couple into opponent's territory. What kind of weapon has he been for your group?
I mean, he's a big weapon. He scores 14 of the points that we put on the board. Even at Barton, he gives us a chance to win the game. They kick the ball out of bounds, and we force him to kick it again. He returns the ball down to the 30. And so, and I think that kicking out of bounds, it forced people to have to think, okay, do we want to back up 5 yards and then know he's going to have a chance to return it, or we want to drive it out the back of the end zone? I think that was Catawba's thought initially. But, he comes out with it. He's kind of flirting with that line a little bit, but he comes out with it. And, the other thing is just the guys that are bought in on the return team. The second return, he was not touched at all. We've watched it over and over again, and he was not touched at all. The first one, he was a little bit gritty on it. But just that speed that I think our guys know, if we can give him a crease and he can hit it and it turns into a foot race, then there's not many guys out there that's as fast as he is.
Same question kind of about the overall special teams unit. You scored 3 touchdowns with that group, and I feel like the special teams unit as a whole has really succeeded. First of all, what do you say about the effort of Antonio Goss? And second of all, to get a group that we talked about, very young, inexperienced, to get out there and succeed the way that they have so far this year?
I think Coach Goss has done a great job. His big driving point is, we want guys on special teams that want to be on special teams. You would like to have – all your top defenders on special teams, but then they just went and played 80 plays. And so what he's done is he's found a couple of guys that just really looking for an opportunity to play somewhere, and they want to play on special teams. And what they've done is they've come out and they've worked their tails off, and we're getting to the point now they understand what we're doing. They're scrappy, and now you have some success, so they believe in what we're doing. And he doesn't compromise with them. He coaches hard, and that's from the kicker down to the first guy on the wall on kickoff return. He coaches them hard. He has high expectations for him. But the coolest thing was when I told him get a job on Saturday, he's like, man, the kids did it. He's like, there was a situation to where they actually we need to run this return, and he just calls it. And it works out for us. They're starting to buy in and understand, how important that unit is, and how it can help us win and how it can prevent us from winning.
I think back to what it's meant for the development of players. Lane Bloom, before he became an all-region linebacker, was your leading special teams tackler in 2013, 2014. Just how you talk about guys that want to be on the field and that's their opportunity. What kind of a development tool can it be for your program?
I think it's for us across the board. That's where anytime a guy comes to ask me, he's like, hey, Coach, what I got to do to get more playing time? Are you on special teams? If the answer is no, then stop talking to me. There's nowhere else to go with that, because I think, it's the first place that, as a young player here for me and anybody, when you're playing college football, your first thing is to find a way to get on the field. If I get on the field, I'll get on the bus. If I'm on the bus, then eventually I'll get a chance to play linebacker or DB or receiver or whatever else it is I want to do. But the problem we make is, a lot of times young guys especially, you want to come in, you want to be number one receiver. But, you're not on bus because you're not on the field. When we get ready to go look at depth charts, you're looking at, 1s and 2s, and then your 3s and 4s become guys that are playing special teams. And so, that's part, and some of the guys that, they look and they learn that, and so they go to Coach Goss's office and, what do I got to do to be on special teams? And, all of a sudden, sometimes other guys go look and it's like, I think I'm better than him, but, you aren't playing on anything. You're the fourth linebacker and you're not on any special teams. Now, if you're the fourth linebacker and you're on special teams, you may want to be the third linebacker. And so it's so important that those guys understand how important special teams are to us.
You look at some of the guys that are stepping up for your program. Austin Greer makes his first start in the defensive backfield against Catawba. That group already young and has been hit with the injury bug. What's he meant to your program to be able to insert himself into the fray almost as the next man up and play pretty solidly with 7 tackles against the Indians?
You know, and that's the thing, we just talked about the special teams part of it. You know, I think that's one thing that we talk about, immediate success, being able to get on the field. Well, Austin's a guy that has been here for 3 years now, counting the COVID year, and all he's done since he's been here is work to get better. And, sometimes it's been slow and it's not been completely noticed, but we talk about defining luck is when, you have an opportunity and you're prepared for that opportunity. And so Austin gets lucky and gets in the game and he goes and makes plays, because he's prepared for that opportunity since he's been here. And so it's good when you see guys that's been in the program for a while, come in and be able to live up to that moment. And so I think it's so important that, we continue to work, grow, and develop. We're talking about a young football team. It may not be today, but I have to continue to move along the process so we can get to where we want to be.
Kind of bring that up. Just how important is that mindset? I can't remember which FBS program uses it, but the mentality is you want to get old and you want to stay old. Just how important is it to feed into that?
That was really kind of part of the plan. We started talking about, what do we want to do with this football program? That is the major part of the plan because, like, when you go look at those stones outside of our building, a lot of times, we've been here for a long time and we see the 10 and the 3s and, we see the national championships. But when you look at our recent history, in reality, we haven't won a championship since 2009. And when you go look at those stones on the back, it says 5 and 6, 4 and 7, 7 and 4, 9 and 3, 10 and 2. And so there's been that little 4-year process, and then we kind of reset it, and then we go through this 4-year process again. Well, the biggest thing we've got to do is we got to get old, and we've got to stay old so that we can go be what we used to be and stop rebuilding and get back to where we can start reloading.